Well, things were kind of slow on the Buick for a couple of weeks. Life intervened and Roger's got a full-time job, so let's take a look and see what's been going on for the last three. Roger's high hopes for the get rot treatment fell by the wayside. It didn't work too good. The wood was just too far gone, so he had to pull the door off. And as you can see here, the wood was in pretty bad shape. With the get rot hopes being dashed, Roger went ahead and pulled all the wood off. And so now the decision becomes, well, do we fix the wood or do we replace part of this with metal? As you can see, in 1935, virtually all the supporting structure underneath the sheet metal was made out of wood. And over the years, of course, all that wood has begun to break down in one form or the other. This has become one of those, well, okay, I'll think on it. Well, on to the next part of the project. Guess it's time now to go ahead and see how the new engine would work out. As you can see here, using one of those plastic blocks, there'll be no problem up on top. Now the exhaust might be tight in a few places. Either looking at custom headers or a real tight fitting stock exhaust job. Well, it looks like the project's definitely going to be heavy on the woodwork, so Roger started laying in a few tools he's going to need. Obviously a bandsaw and a crosscut saw are going to get a lot of use, as is this little planer. In some cases he's going to have to plane down the wood he's got to make it fit and match up with the existing wood. As you can see, he's burning up the sanding pads and the cutting disc as well as a batch of cigarettes on his table saw. Remember this shot from a previous video? Turns out this cover is actually for a Chevrolet. It's not for a Buick. So obviously the dimensions are different. Since this was going to involve crossbreeding GM products, Roger decided he better bring in one of his pro friends that was really good at metalwork and woodwork to go ahead and do this. This is going to have to be recontoured as well as the wood was going to have to reinforce it. Well, the first thing he had to do was go ahead and cut about an inch out of it and then tack weld the two pieces back together. And to me this feels about like 24 gauge. Once you get the two pieces tacked back together, now you got to do the welding in very short spurts, like weld a 1/4 inch, skip an 1.5 inches or 2 inches, and then weld another 1/4 inch, and then move on from there. If you try to do continuous welding, you'll either warp through the metal or you get a blow through on the metal. Now he's MIGing the whole thing with a very fine wire, and I'd give you the current range and the wire feed speed if I could, but basically his welder only says a current of B and a wire speed of 3, so I know that doesn't do anybody any good. Now it's time to take out a few dents. What he told me is he got a box full of specialty hammers and a whole bunch of specialty dollies. All this is a bunch of specialty body tools that he's acquired. Some of them are over 50 years old. This is another one of those specialty body working tools he's acquired over the years. Basically you can use this one to slightly stretch or slightly compress sheet metal. Obviously it's time every now and then to go out to the car and see how well you're doing. So let's go out and do a test fit and then come back and do a little welding or a little bit of sanding and see how close you are after that. Now it's time to replace the woodwork, and Roger's laid up a pretty good supply of oak. As you can see here, Roger's table saw just wasn't going to cut the mustard, so he brought in his own saw where you got a tilt table provision, so he can go ahead and get these wood cuts on just the right angle. Now that he's got all the pieces cut, now it's time to go ahead and fit it all together and glue it all together. He's cut a couple extra pieces on the top side there so he can mount hinges to it. And now it's all smiles now that this portion of the project is almost complete. He told me he expected to have 50 to 60 hours in it total by the time it was finished and ready to mount on the car. As soon as he gets the trunk lid finished, then it's time to go back outside and take a look at the actual car itself. There's got to be an awful lot of welding done on this upper area around where the trunk lid will attach to the car. Obviously there's a lot of rust there too. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you found it interesting. Definitely want to subscribe if you like this little project. It's going to be going on for a while. Take care, y'all.